So Venezuela is all up in arms and has rallies demanding the release of their Trendia members jailed in El Salvador. So I think it's interesting how, there's a different kind of global thing going on, a good one, which is different world people on the stage working to better countries, okay? So, and recently, in El Salvador is where CCAT is, that prison, where they're not beaten, they're not abused, but these are the worst criminals ever. And then we have these judges in this country that something will need to be done about. They need to be impeached. That if they're going to waste the American citizens' time protecting criminals and wanting them to stay in this country, then we need to impeach judges like that. It's just really simple, okay? And most of them are, Obama appointees. But anyway, but to this is where I see, El Salvador, and El Salvador's president is helping Trump, okay? Because what this problem is, okay, is that this, let me just tell you the history with the Trendia. They originated as a prison gang in Venezuelan state. The group's center of operations was in the massive Torcarono prison, from which the leader expanded the gang's influence outside the prison walls, even overseeing units in at least 3 other South American countries, according to Insight Crime. Gang members and their families extorted inmates and transformed the prison into a lavish fortress that included a swimming pool and several restaurants. In September 2023, 11,000 Venezuelan police and army personnel stormed the gang's prison headquarters but failed to dismantle its operations. Top leaders escaped the prisons prior to the raid as a result of a likely tip-off or negotiated exits. The group has evolved to capitalize on changing conditions, extorting migrant enclaves in surrounding nations, and building new criminal enterprises throughout South America. So, these gangs need to go, okay? I don't give a shit what any judge here says. And it's interesting, the timing, because you got President Bukele there in El Salvador, that they built this entire maximum prison system. And yes, they went there, and you know why? Because if you send them back, if you send them to Venezuela, they're going to come right back here. So this is how, when nations on the global world stage work together, they're working for the interest of the innocent. If we want to have stupid judges on the bench that want to demand that these people be brought back, when all of them broke the law, when you run across our borders, you've broken the law. If there's not a judge in this country that understands that, then they should be impeached. That this group, do people remember what happened in Colorado at the apartments with this group? As Trendia has grown, though, Venezuela's economy has disintegrated, fueling unrest and, in return, government repression. It goes on to say here that, according to the Migration Policy Institute, since 2015, more than 7 million Venezuelans have fled their homeland, roughly 25% of the entire Venezuelan population. Members of Trendia migrated too, seeking profit outside of their impoverished nation in neighboring Colombia, Peru, and Chile. Last year, the United States created a transnational intelligence group with Peru to track the gang's activity in multiple countries, Ecuador, Bolivia, and Brazil, and have also reported the gang's presence, according to sources that spoke to Insight Crime. Quote, they have joined this exodus of people, an associate fellow with the Institute for Policy Studies, as a political science associate professor at Virginia Commonwealth University. He says that this is a specialized organized crime in Latin America. He said migrants often are vulnerable people, and they easily victimize and easily exploit this group. What many people don't understand about the transnational criminal groups like Trendiaragra, is they primarily prey on their own communities. So what Trump is doing is what he is following through on what his first mission was, his first term, which was to eradicate the modern day slavery. You're looking at them. That's why they were sent to El Salvador. No more of this bullshit. No more of this. They're trafficking human beings, many times their own people. The gang provides high-cost transportation services, in some cases offering package deals that include accommodations and food along the way to other South and Central American countries, Mexico, and more recently the United States. Members often control low-cost housing along migration routes. The line between smuggling and trafficking is often blurry. While migrants may initially seek out their services and pay what they thought was the required fee, the gang members may end up charging them more than they promised, or they are demanding that they do something to work off the debt. It's total indenture. It's total slavery. So people need to understand, these judges that demand that these people stay here, they are demanding that human traffickers, smugglers, the most god-awful people remain in this country. So something needs to be done to impeach these judges, because they do not honor our Constitution. Here's what's interesting. The majority of innocent migrants haven't been coming to the U.S. because of them. Nope, they haven't. They've been going to neighboring nations, the ones that are truly seeking asylum. So these people carrying on, oh, this is an asylum seeker, bullshit. These people have been being watched. They have been, I've said, the Rubio, all of them, they know. The nations that have been working together, they knew where these people were. They knew what they were up to. Trump's been saying for 8 years they're invading. And the past 4, he said it was a blatant invasion. Everybody saw the videos. Everybody saw the pictures. While most Venezuelans initially sought refuge in neighboring countries, hundreds and thousands of Venezuelans have arrived at the U.S.-Mexico border over the past few years, and Trendiaragra members are among them. Some of these Venezuelan immigrants who initially settled in other South American nations decided to head north to escape the gang's escalating violence and threats. Only relatively recently have some Venezuelans been reaching the U.S. border and seeking asylum in the U.S. The vast majority of Venezuelans who have left Venezuela have not ended up in the United States and are not trying to get to the United States. Why wouldn't they want to? Because they're here. That's why. Because they prey on their own people. This is what went on in Colorado, and then they had moved to another apartment building in Aurora, Colorado. Still, border authorities encountered about 190,000 Venezuelan individuals attempting to cross the border illegally in 2022. More Venezuelans than any other single nationality crossed the border in 2023. So you see how this is Trump carrying through on his initial, from his first presidency, when he said, I will eradicate human trafficking from the planet. If you send them back to Venezuela, they are going to turn around, and they've overridden that country. And what is that country? What is their political ideology? Their socialism. It is. It's a socialist country. So that's how out of control it is. They have gang members running the place. This is the same thing like in the Middle East with Hamas, okay? So something needs to be done about this shit. And Trump is doing something about it. And so is El Salvador. Marco Rubio said foreign visitors have nothing to worry about if they don't join a Hamas protest. Do you understand why this stuff is important? This is it really kind of goes even back to the CIA in some reasons, because these groups, they are about revolution. They are about overthrowing your country. It happens in socialist countries all the time, which is why socialism fails all the time. Okay, it's because of this shit. So Trump is trying to get rid of this shit. He's not trying to just go after any migrants. No, but if you come here, you start joining protests with Hamas, none of us true Americans that aren't criminals want you here.